Hello, hello, and welcome to the Here to Uplift podcast, where we center the stories of impactful changemakers, entrepreneurs, and community leaders who have done the hard work of uplifting themselves through adversity to get where they are today, and now uplift others along the way in their journeys. I'm Lolo Fisher, your host, lover of all things wellness, healing, and empowerment, and I would greatly appreciate if you show us your support by liking, subscribing, and sharing this podcast with others. Let's get into it. Today, my special guest is Maliya Castro. As a sales leader in the payroll industry, Maliya is making huge moves for her company and her clients. She has excelled in sales through her intentional outreach and education to business owners and helping them be their best and learn the ins and outs of business finances that far too many entrepreneurs and business owners never get to learn. I met Maliya at a high-value networking event in San Jose and was immediately drawn to her energy. Y'all, when she enters a room, her confidence shines. We actually talk about where this confidence comes from, how to dress and present yourself in authentic ways, especially in networking settings, and more in this episode. There are so many golden nuggets of wisdom in here for all my entrepreneurs, business owners, women leaders, and really anyone who wants to better understand business finances. We also talk about making those tough hiring and money decisions when starting a business, overcoming personal traumas and hardships to grow into your best self, and walking into any room unapologetically. So many good things. So let's get right into it. Get ready to take notes, y'all. Here is episode 10 with Maliya Castro. All right, y'all, welcome back to the Here to Uplift podcast. I am here with my friend Maliya Castro, and I am super excited to have her on the show so we can talk about all things women, entrepreneurship, wellness, and in particular, I want to talk to you about unapologetic confidence. So, yeah, let's get into it.
All right, let's go.
Maliya, introduce yourself for the people.
All right, so hey everyone, I'm Maliya, and I have been in the Silicon Valley pretty much all my life. And, I think that it's important for us to be able to share our experiences and be able to grow through everything that we deal with in life. So I am more than happy to be able to share my experiences, and hopefully that someone can take from it, learn from it. Again, my thing is just to be able to give part of myself and what I'm about and see how that might help the other people. So, yeah.
I love it. I'm going to turn this up for you a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, so one of the things I've really loved about our interactions together, although we met in a networking setting, we're all dressed up in our business and formal and everything, immediately we were able to talk about wellness and balance and how we make sure it's a priority in our life. So while I'm sure we'll get to it later, the fun part that I want to pull up right from the start is your outfits. Your style sense is on point, both professional and when we met up at a yoga studio taking yoga class, perfect fit. We had the most recent Health is Wealth networking event, matching everything, and it is glorious. So can you tell me about your style? Have you always been this stylish?
Yes, I will say, okay, so that actually goes from, honestly, my first job. I started at Macy's in the juniors department.
All right.
And so, yeah, I'm all about, just making sure you look good, makes you feel good. And so at the end of the day, obviously for work in sales, you have to present yourself in a certain way. And so I'm big on, just going out there and looking your best. It doesn't have to be designer, none of that matters to me. I mean, honestly, of course I like a good bag or whatever, but I will say that honestly, I like to be able to be dressed nice, and I feel like to be, just, it kind of just shows off who you are, and not do too much. And then it's funny because when you go into like the COVID era, like I went out of all of my workout or my working clothes, my career clothes into workout clothes.
Yes.
And so I got really into obviously different sets and different styles. I really like to support actually local lines too. There's one in particular, Lisi Fit. It's actually these girls that came from San Jose. They totally made it and moved down to LA, started their own thing, and they're like really big right now. But I will say that every single time I wear something of theirs, like I definitely get like crazy compliments. But it's not only like what you're wearing. For me, it's also about comfort. So like head to toe, literally. Like if you look at my toes, they are very pretty. I don't do killer shoes, although I do have some Louboutins, but that's not gonna be like my everyday wear for sure. Like I'm all about, you know, being comfortable in what I'm wearing, and it also helps me feel good about myself, and you know, just to be able to carry yourself well wherever you go. That's important to me.
I love that. Do you feel like people respond to you differently depending on what you're wearing?
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think, like I said, like it's fun to be able to, you know, I like to just have fun. At the end of the day, my thing is like, I'm not here to impress people. I'm just here to just be me. And, you know, and obviously too, it's like I said, it's about comfort. I like soft, I like silky, I like all the things that are like nice and feels good on your skin type thing. So that's kind of what I do. And like I said, I feel like when you're dressed well and you're dressed for the occasion, you know, you're just going to be ready for it, regardless of what it is.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I like that point that it's not to impress people, because I think there's this like fine line between being aware of how people are going to respond to you based on what you're wearing versus like, what does this actually say about me and how do I feel in it?
Exactly.
So there's like all these layers to like what you wear, but for me, like Ross, Marshalls, all these places were my best friend before I could like afford anything else, you know? I'm like, so it's really not about the cost, it's not even about the brand, but like there's ways to express yourself confidently just by your attire, and like start where you are.
I mean, Fashion Nova has some great fits, I'll tell you that too.
Ooh, I got my first Fashion Nova dress this year, and I wore it to the masquerade party.
I'm telling you, it's crazy. You find so many good things online. It sucks to return stuff, but
true.
But it's also fun. And you know, I started shopping more online, obviously with COVID. But going back to my first job working in the juniors department for Macy's, I will say the funnest thing was being able to help dress, like when a boyfriend comes in and they're shopping for their girlfriend and like for surprises, and all I need to know is their sizes and kind of what they're about, and then I would put together these outfits.
Oh my gosh.
And it used to be just the funnest thing for me. I really enjoyed it. It was a great job. It was really fun. At night, we would be dancing around the halls, making things, cleaning things up, but dancing to the music videos, like you would never know. Like, I'm serious, but
like
it was good. It was a good,
scenes.
Exactly. You didn't really need to know all that, but that's what we did.
Okay.
So,
Well, let's topic jump a little bit, because you already mentioned that you're in sales and you are really intentional about how you present yourself in those spaces. So
for sure.
Tell me more about the work you do and what that looks like day to day.
So yes, of course. So I'm in payroll sales. So that means I work with all types of businesses, small businesses mostly. I mean, I would say about 500 employees or less, and working with a lot of different business owners and a lot of different industries. I've been in my industry now for 20 years. And it's been a great experience. I love to be able to assist a small business and be able to, you know, help them get better, get bigger, be more successful in what they're doing, and create efficiencies in things that they never would have even known to do for their business on a financial side. And I think it's really important for an entrepreneur to understand that, you know, usually it takes like about 5 years for you to be really established and successful. And once you can do that, you know, you can kind of get really good funding and good like loans, things like that, but you have to take care of that financial side. My biggest thing as well is like for a new employer specifically, one thing that I can say that I do very special for my new business owners is I truly take them through their tax liability as the employer. and they don't really understand exactly what they're going to have to do just to hire their first employee. So I get very detail oriented into that, and at the end of it, they almost feel like, wow, why wasn't I doing this before? And they just didn't know. So again, my way of giving back is mainly to educate them and show them like, hey, it is easy, and I'm gonna keep you in compliance and really help you, like I said, to create efficiencies, but also be more cost effective. And especially right now with like the recession and stuff, like a lot of people are looking at where their money is being spent. And as an owner, it's very important for your business to run smoothly, but also in a cost effective way. And so that's some things that I can kind of take the burden off of a small business and be able to assist them. And mainly because with California, it's a very employee-sided state where, people can be sue happy. And I am very much on the side of an employer where I want to protect them and make sure that they're pretty much all good. I'm not the payroll police. I'm not going to like call the IRS on you, but I will make sure that you understand like, hey, this is what can happen. Yeah. And so, and some, liabilities are higher than the others where an employee, having your employees, make sure that it's people that you trust because, again, employees are your biggest liability. And especially as a small business, you don't want to be taken down by something so frivolous that you could have avoided it. So if I can help in that way, that's kind of what I'm here for. Okay. And then along the way, I created this amazing network of people where almost through the Capital Club, you're around people that, they're successful in their markets. Yeah. And that's also what I love to be able to say is that, my friends and the people that I network with are also very successful in what they do. And they're totally different industries. Yeah. But because of us being the young professionals of the Capital Club, we all kind of like came together and now we're like friends and we support each other in what we do. We're there for each other in different like birthdays and fun things, but again, also it comes back to business and we all want to just be able to be supportive of each other. So that's kind of what I'm really all about.
Okay, this is like bringing me multiple questions in the mind, but I'm going to start with staying on the work itself. Yeah. And I'm curious because you talked about this education piece, and I know for me for sure, the reason I was scared to start my business in the first place was because I never felt prepared enough. So I would constantly research, constantly watch courses, constantly look at as much as I could to be prepared until there was one day I was like, I just got to go for it and keep learning along the way. So when I finally went out on my own and like left my full-time job to like do my own thing, it was exciting, but there have been so many things that I needed to learn. And I think one of my biggest mistakes I made early on, lesson learned now, was hiring too many employees too fast. In my mind, it was like, we're going to be able to offer more by having a larger team, and then I can take things off my plate and delegate more. But it just turned into more work on my end, and in particular, a bigger payout than what we were making revenue-wise.
Yes, yeah.
So I'm curious if you've had any like similar situations, or maybe even just roadblocks that you would tell business owners to avoid when they're first starting. Because I know employees, it was just too many employees was my thing. Like I probably could have started with a few less, but I hired 8 right off the bat in month 3. Yeah. And it was a challenge.
No, I mean, that is one thing I would say is like to really understand, how much you already are bringing in on your own by just starting off. How much do you have to spend, and what that revenue that you're bringing in is going to look like, and how that's going to be able to cover your overhead. Yes. So when you look at overhead, of course, employees are a part of that. And so really understanding exactly where your max would be with an employee and how much you're going to give to them, obviously the minimum wage type thing of what you have to, but also like how many people do you really need to get the job done. And honestly too, the other thing is like starting on your own. When you're starting on your own, you're making all this money for yourself. But then once you start to bring other people in, you're going to have to share the wealth. And with that, is it going to really increase the revenue, or is it going to take away, like you said? Yeah. So those are big things that you have to take into consideration. The one best thing I will say is to make sure you have a good bookkeeper and a good CPA on your side that's going to really look out for you, know what tax credits, know what to take advantage of that's out there for small business owners. And so the one thing that I did very early on is getting into networking with like the chambers, because they do offer a lot of help in regards to small businesses, and really to understand like, okay, this is what you're going to have to bring and how much overhead you're going to have to cover. And these things are like so important, because as a business owner or entrepreneur, or you know, you basically have a product that just takes off one day and you have to start hiring. It goes fast.
Yes,
but
does.
Again, like knowing exactly where your overhead is and knowing exactly your expenses and how much revenue you're bringing in and how much you want to share that with other people, that's really going to be your answer as far as like how to really know which way to go and how much employees you truly need to get started. But again, like it depends. Like you might need a delivery driver, you might need, you know, there's things that you need versus, yes, the delegation part. And sometimes, like I know for a fact a CPA is going to tell you, like, you want to make sure you're making this much money before you even bring somebody on. The one thing I will say, and some certain companies had done this also, where it was also a mistake, is paying people under the table. That can become very expensive, very messy, expensive. And the other thing is you cannot write it off. So for example, I had a client who he was, I think he was like an engineer or something like that. He had one employee, but he only paid him cash. And I mean, he made a lot of money, him and the guy. However, he probably paid out cash over $100K in 1 year. And then he went to a CPA and he's like, well, this is what I paid the employee. And they're like, or the guy.
Nothing to show for that.
Yeah, nothing to show. The cash, that was it. It was out the game. Like you can't even write it off. So he lost a lot just by having one employee that he wasn't paying correctly. And again, having a great CPA, a good bookkeeper that's actually taking care of your finances, that's going to be the best thing to start off with, because again, they're going to know what your expenses are, what your liabilities are, how much you're making, how much you can draw out of the account so you're not overspending on your own personal life. Like, you know, you might be making a lot of money in the business and then, you know, throwing it away to nice dinners and nice clothes or who knows what. But it's like at the end of the day, you don't want to like lose the money that you're trying to gain to build your business. So that's my main, you know, advice in the beginning would be bookkeeper, CPA, someone like me to do the payroll to make sure you're not in any tax liability penalty situation with IRS and the state. And again, like a good bank as well. I mean, you want to be able to get some small business loans sometimes. That can also assist you in getting to where you need to be and where you're going to make it. So,
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you for those tips. It's like I'm already like, let me write these down.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go back to
take
this later.
notes.
Okay, perfect. So when you are helping these entrepreneurs, what do you feel like the attitude is of folks that are coming in with these questions?
You know what, like so again, like I'm very personable and I understand exactly who I'm speaking to at that time and what industry they're in. That's going to be exactly how I'm going to be able to talk to you. Yeah. So if it's, you know, a construction guy, I know what I need to talk to him about versus a restaurant owner. There's different things for different industries for sure. But again, like coming at them straight and being honest is my biggest thing. And I'm not there just to sell my service. Like that's actually kind of just like besides the point of why I'm there. Like I want to be able to help them. And, you know, at the end of the day too, like if I walk away because I don't think it might be the right time, I know that it's going to just create more trust. And they're going to know, oh, when I do need you, you're going to come back to me because I'm going to assist you the way that, you know, needs to be done. I'm not ever going to push people to do what they might or they might need to do. I will be able to sit back and like kind of like see what they're doing, fill it out, ask the right questions. It's really about the questions that you ask to gain the trust that you need for each relationship that you have. I will say too, I mean, sales has been really fun for me. I get to understand and learn about people's, you know, their dreams come true. I mean, honestly, it's been awesome. And then also kind of sit back and really appreciate like, okay, like you just totally like made a solar charger for your phone and your laptop and like now you're a millionaire. Like, that's wild.
All right.
So that's the other thing that I love to do is I have this whole like sales thing, like sales mind, where I want to try to help you get better. So I mean, I've had people offer me jobs while I'm there, like, let me hire you, like, you need to like come over here.
You need to do that for me.
Yes.
Like.
And so that's been fun too, just giving them ideas on places they need to go market their products. I love marketing too. I think it's a big part of sales, and being able to, again, get out to where you need to be to show what you have. That's going to be important, because again, if you have a product or if you're an entrepreneur in a certain space, you need to be at certain networking events or certain places that you're going to be seen at, and you know, where people are going to like want to talk to you. So that's another big thing for me.
You are a connector of people and resources, which I love.
Huge.
So, since you help so many entrepreneurs, do you consider yourself an entrepreneur?
I would say, I mean, no, I think honestly, I'm more of a consultant type person. That could turn into entrepreneurship for me, for sure. And I believe like this year is something that where I've considered it more and more, just to kind of get out there and really be able to spread knowledge and educate is huge for me. And again, if it's able to help people, that's really what I'm here for. I want to work hard for my boys. I have 2 sons. I work really hard for them, and you know, I feel like it is truly about what you give in this world, and it comes back to you regardless of whatever you're doing. So, you know, I could be, you know, giving my hand in help with the homeless, or I could be giving my time to someone to help them get started in their business. No matter what, it's always going to come back. And so that's what I'm really big on, is making sure that I can help someone.
That energy is huge, because I think you can feel it even when you meet people. Like when I first met you, it was like, there's so many people in this room, but when we were introduced, I'm like, oh, I like her. Like, that energy is just right. And when you're open to somebody, having that smile, it's like those simple things that I feel like can make networking a lot easier, just by being open with your own energy.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I honestly, that's the one thing about myself is like, I really am like a very authentic person. I tell my boyfriend all the time, I do not have a poker face, so if you know that I'm not feeling you, you're gonna know it. But again, like, I really try to give everyone the benefit of the doubt, and I really love to be able to get to know people and what they do, and like, again, it's just really about helping people and seeing where I can be of a resource for someone. You know, I'm not like a person that's gonna just like, you know, run around and you know, I'm not really a person to bullshit a lot either. I'm really just gonna, you know, speak my piece, and if I'm comfortable in the space that I am, I'm gonna, you know, thrive in it. So I think it's important.
I love that. What have been your favorite places to network or connect with people?
You know, honestly, I think it all started really for myself, just in different like atmospheres where I felt like I was going to be uncomfortable. Networking by myself, going to like expos where you're going table to table and talking to people you don't even know, and you're just there by yourself. I think it like pushes you out to be able to like have to have conversations that you may not have even thought that you were going to have, and then you meet people and then it just goes from there. I will say as well, like, you know, becoming a part of the Capital Club a few years ago, it actually, you know, just being there and being in the presence of people that are, you know, successful and like-minded in entrepreneurship, my revenue and that time of my life, I needed it because I was having different things going on at home where I pushed myself into work, and my revenue like tripled that year. So it was huge for me. I literally, you know, think that I'm very grateful for my company that they paid for it, and just to be able to be a part of a bigger place and where everyone's kind of out there to network and get to know each other, but also come back and be able to do the work that I needed to get done outside of in an office space or, you know, I love the atmosphere and, you know, again, back to carrying yourself and being where you want to be seen. It's like, that's a big place where I was able to hold meetings, actually do a lot of calls, like really just grind down on my business. And so it really helped me. So there, and then obviously like, you know, even when you're out, like sometimes too, like I find myself speaking about work and talking about, you know, what I do or, you know, talking about, again, it's all about, for me, being around positive people and people that are not like gonna drag you down or anything like that. I'm not really into, you know, I'm not gonna just go party to party. I like to dance, but I'm not gonna just go out there and be out like, you know, making a complete fool of myself either. So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
I've never seen that, but part of me wants to see that side of Maliya.
Well, don't give me any tequila, cause you know
that's a whole nother side.
Yeah.
Maybe we should switch up these drinks. We drink wine for those that are listening.
That's right.
But,
that's right.
I
Cheers
might have to
to
get
that.
Maliya something a little different real soon.
Not right now. It's Monday.
It is a Monday. That's right. It is.
Yes.
I don't even know what day it is, girl.
I know. I'm telling you.
Yeah. This is so good.
Yeah.
You just mentioned that there was a period of time that was like really tough, and your company also like paid for the space and everything for you to transition. But if you're willing to, can you tell us like what was going on at that time?
Yeah.
That also somehow you pulled through to triple your revenue. Like,
oh yeah. Well, I would say, you know, at the end of the day, like I was in a bad relationship, and so I was, you know, not really happy with myself. I, you know, didn't have the energy to go out and even want to like get better for myself. Like I wasn't really exercising. I was just really not happy in the relationship that I was in at the time. And I was kind of being dragged down where I didn't even think that I was. I mean, there were times like where I was having fun, of course, but again, that wasn't the realistic thing when I went home. So I didn't want, especially for I had just had my second son, and my older son was 7 or 8 at the time, and I really didn't want him to be in that environment of a toxic relationship. And so that was my big thing, is really for him to show him like, hey, like, I don't want you to become an asshole. So I had to get away from that. Yeah. And honestly, it's like, you know, that was like one of my biggest struggles, and one of the best thing that I overcame and was able to do on my own. I mean, unfortunately, I had to do some really, you know, I could have actually been a lawyer now that I think about it, or not that I think about it, but I literally wanted to be a lawyer. Wow. And with this situation, I actually had to present myself in court and actually do the things that I needed to do to protect myself and both my sons. And I did it. And without a lawyer. And I actually presented myself. And again, this will go back to me being able to help other people, because when I was in that setting of a court setting and like, you know, I was, you know, still dressed in my sales, you know, suits and everything else, you know, I seen other women there that were scared, and they weren't, you know, necessarily the best type of dressed and whatever else. Of course, they're going through certain things that are really hard to deal with. And so when I saw that, even for me, like one day, you know, when I can actually take the time, I would love to be able to give back into people that have dealt with domestic violence, or, you know, things like that, where I can give, you know, more to women that are afraid to really make a move like that, like what I did. And, you know, I was really proud of myself at the time. My family had no idea that I was even going through that. Really? My mom did, of course, but I'm saying like my cousins and outside of, I wasn't sharing really what was going on. And when I got through it and I left that relationship, like I said, you know, the start of me getting into the Capital Club was pushing me away from, you know, wanting to deal with that at home. And that actually like brought me to where like I needed to be as far as for my job, but more for my boys, because I needed them to see that no matter what, I was going to do something for them to protect them and myself. But mainly, again, just to show like, hey, this is what hard work gets you. And, you know, it's not, you know, I don't want to be like, you know, a product of a circumstance and feel sorry for myself. I want to be able to climb up out of it and then become better at all times. And I feel like I grew so much from that experience. And I became so strong and powerful. Like as a woman, I felt like, you know what, like I could do anything. and I'm not gonna like let anyone bring me down. And I truly believe like it's super important for you to do what you want to do and be happy. At the end of the day, whatever you have to do to be happy was my main goal, is just to make sure that I wasn't going to waste time on this earth feeling miserable, feeling sorry for myself. I didn't want to become some victim. I just wanted to be myself and be happy. So that was it, you know, like honestly, and that's, like I said, it did bring me to another level of my sales. And since then, it's been great. Ooh. Like, you know, in the dating world, it's like some women may feel like, you know, they don't know how to stand up for themselves and things like that, where, you know, for me, I truly learned a lot from that situation and knew that, like, hey, if something's not right, it's not right. Yeah. I don't want to waste people's time, let alone my own. So as long as, if things are great, awesome. If not, then we just got to keep it moving. Yeah. You know?
Thank you for sharing that. And now that like gives me some insight as to where what I am terming unapologetic confidence comes from. And a lot of times, like, I would agree that for me, different situation completely, right? But when I was sexually assaulted and raped in the past, when I got through that, my confidence grew so much more, but it took time to learn and essentially redefine myself and change the narrative of that past situation.
No, for sure.
It's hard. It is hard. And for you to do that all yourself and represent yourself in court, like, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was amazing.
I would never know.
Yeah.
I would never know.
It was definitely difficult. And it's funny because, like, again, my mom was there. And when the day that I did what I had, or, not day, but, when the judge came down and ruled for me to have full and legal custody of my son, like, my mom, we left the courtroom and she's like, let's take a picture and all this stuff. And I'm like, really, Mom? Like, you're happy? Like, I mean, I was happy, of course, but it was just like, there's not a selfie that wants to be done right now. I'm like, yes, there's adrenaline and everything for sure. But it was pretty funny. But no, seriously, I thought it was a great learning experience. And again, I feel like to be able to protect and show my boys that this is not the way that we're going to live, and we're going to do better. And so that's all it happened to be, And now, like, they're thriving and they are great boys, at the end of the day. So
I mean, they got a great mama. So but I hear those boys as your why, because you've mentioned them a few times now.
All the way.
I love it. Do you feel like getting back into dating or back into a relationship after this experience was tough, or did it come easier the next time around?
It takes some trials and people that, you realize, because again, I think right now I'm in an amazing relationship. I'm very blessed to have met my partner where I did in the time that we did. I feel like we truly came together in a time when we both really needed each other. COVID definitely takes you away and out of a whole social scene. But, we were fortunate enough to randomly meet at a restaurant. Okay. And, at that time, it was probably a month before he had lost his father. And then 6 months after we were together, I lost my dad. So again, like, those type of losses and things that you go through in life, I felt very supported, and he's a very good person. We really meshed very well, very quickly, because he's an executive sales VP of his company. Okay. And so again, I always tell people he's like a bigger boss to me than my company's my boss for sure that I work with. No, that's not my boss. Like, it's my man who tells me, get to work. Yeah. Not too many yoga and lunches during the day. Just kidding. I would be, I'm like a total like housewife for sure, like sometimes, but at the end of the day, he's like, you need to buckle down. But like, it's all good. Like, at the end of the day, we want better for each other. Yes. And we, I think that, like, again, it's all about getting along and just being easy. I honestly feel like for myself, I've chose different ways of thinking and choosing battles in the way that I never would have when I was younger. I also feel like it's a big part of your environment of what you choose to see. So I think that that's one thing that I cut out. And especially nowadays, like with my boys, they they're not into watching TV and shows. They watch YouTube and
It's
like
a thing.
random
Oh my gosh.
social media stuff, you know? So I got rid of cable altogether. So, because I was watching the news a lot, I was doing things that really weren't productive for me. And I feel like, I mean, my ex used to say that like I'd go watch Housewives of Atlanta and I'd come out of there and we'd be squabbing for sure.
You're like, I got some inspiration.
Yeah. And it's like, no, that's not probably healthy. So yeah, getting rid of cable assisted me.
You need a little trash TV once in a while, but just a dabble.
Yeah,
like,
maybe a dabble is
a little
good,
here and there,
but
and then
no, not
move
like,
on.
it was just so funny. But like at the end of the day, yeah, like right now, I feel like, you know, I'm 42. I'm too old to be making excuses for things that I do and things that I choose. So again, and people that I choose. So again, like being around people that are in good environments and healthy for you. And you could be able to share space too, you know, like my friends right now, we've met each other in healthy places, and that really assisted me as far as like being able to grow even more so. You know, and I always check in, you know, we check in with each other, and if we have stuff to vent about, we check first with each other, like, can you handle this right now? Because if not,
what's your
we're
capacity?
just gonna like, let me just not, because
so
again,
important.
you have to like understand where other people are coming from as well. Like, you don't want to just like throw up on somebody and think like, you know, they're ready for it.
Yes.
That's a big thing to me.
That's so true. Because even if somebody has a smile on their face, that could be a mask for that day that
For
they're
sure.
just barely hanging on to.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah, I've been there before.
Me too.
I'll say it.
Yes, yes.
But yeah, I think there's this piece about what you're saying in terms of hope and intentionality, I would say. And one of the big things I'm hearing for folks who maybe are in or have recently gotten out of a toxic relationship is there's only going to be more if you allow for more.
Exactly.
If you make room for it. So if there's a fear factor that's holding you back from getting out of a toxic relationship, like, know that there's something better for you only if you choose that something better for you.
All the way.
Yeah. Is
Exactly.
there any advice you would give to somebody who is maybe afraid to get out of the toxic relationship or just got out of one and is afraid to try again?
You know, my main thing is, in that regard, big time, is taking time for yourself and getting to know yourself and really almost making a checklist of what you want, and understanding what you don't want, and really being able to say no, because that's my biggest thing as well, is like, you know, you go through different experiences and relationships, and if you know that it's not going to work, or you see those red flags and you feel it in your mind and your thoughts, like, don't ignore that. Like, honestly, like, just like you said, I mean, there's always something better to come along. And I feel like that's when I was feeling the most powerful, is like in a dating scene, when you're able to just walk away or just say, no, this isn't going to work for me. Like, that just brought it up, like, my strength and that power that you need to feel as a woman, mainly as a woman. Of course, men can deal with it too, but for women, like, I feel like, you know, just to really be able to be strong and realize there's something better out there. You don't need to waste your time. And I think time is, you know, that's the most precious thing we have. You can spend all the money you want or, you know, do whatever you want, but time is, you know, that's going to be the biggest thing for me. Is my time. So
and I feel like what you're saying applies to friendships,
everything.
Work relationships, all of it. Like, where you spend your time and who you spend it with, be intentional about it, because you don't get that time back.
Exactly.
And that's part of, even in starting this podcast, I have been amazed at how much things have been aligning, that I'll talk with one woman, we'll do the podcast, and then they're like, you know what, you should meet this person, and like, this person would be great on your podcast. And then all these opportunities to meet just amazing people keep aligning.
Yes.
And it feels so good to just meet folks with similar positive attitudes, positive vibes. We've all been through something. And that's the point of this podcast, really, is like, everybody has a different level of success. We define it differently. We're doing different things, but we've all been through something.
That's right.
And if we can just lift each other up in that process so that we all can be more successful, like, that's the goal.
Yes.
That's the goal for sure. So that piece, we've like moved through what you're doing in the sales industry, how that has led and changed your confidence in some spaces, the impact of your personal life and relationships in that way. And blending that all together, I'm curious now what balance looks like for you. Because we've had a little bit of conversations outside of the podcast, obviously, about like making sure our fitness is a priority. And it's like, we can move things around our schedule to make sure like we can go take that yoga class or that I can go get lunch.
We're going to do that.
But it is hard to like make those a priority sometimes when others are putting pressure on you or other things are impacting your schedule. So how did you get to this point where you now can like truly create your own schedule?
Oh, well, it takes a while. Because again, like, you know, being in my industry for now 20 years, like, you know, one of my friends, Mike, actually asked me the other day, like, are you really like cold calling? Are you like hunting for your business? And I'm like, maybe I should be a little more, but I'm very fortunate. Again, I have a great referral network, and a big thing about myself is establishing trust with the people that are going to be able to refer you and that you can also give back to, because that's going to, you know, build you up a lot faster, and really knowing exactly how you can work with different people, and again, asking the right questions. Establishing trust is big time for me. But yeah, going back to like where I am right now, where I balance out what I need to do in my life, you know, it always wasn't like that for sure. I still am learning. I think every day I'm learning. But what I have done now is really prioritized exactly, you know, when I can spend an hour to just go out and work out really quick, or, you know, 1 hour during the day and maybe a couple hours at night, things like that, where it's going to just help me, you know, get out that energy. But also too, for me, you know, yoga's very new to me. I started it only last year in around March or April. I was doing more HIIT classes. I have a lot of energy. I think sales is definitely like the thing that I need to be in because of that. But also it's very stressful because you have to hit your numbers. It's like you do something, you know, 1 month and you're great, and the next month that starts over. Like you got to continue it. For me, the reason why I continue it is because, again, like I have to be able to pay the bills. I have to be able to, you know, I provide for my boys, and I don't want them to struggle. But they do understand that, you know, everything takes money to earn money is important. You know, they don't have everything handed to them, but in a way, you know, I still make them understand like that, you know, what we get, and you guys get great things and you have a great life, but this is based off of the work that I'm doing, and I want to show them that that's what it takes. And I actually, you know, I learned that from even my grandmother who worked, you know, and she was a very strong woman, and she stood up for herself in different times where, you know, I can think back where she had went through a domestic violence and abuse in her life, and you know, even with my parents, you know, their struggle that they had, that was also a big thing for me, is learning from them. And my thing is truly is learning from other people, and I've done that since I was very young. Like in high school, my cousins, my girl cousins had kids in high school. That wasn't going to be me. I actually started a babysitting club off their kids. I'm like, let me turn this into like some revenue. So that, like, exactly, like at the end of the day, like for me, it's really learning from other people and looking at their decisions and where do I want to fit in on that? Like, do I want to do that? Do I want to go down a path? And not really. Like, I can move another way and see where that takes me. You know, my parents, we traveled, you know, when I was little, not as much as my boys have, but again, like that also taught me to let them travel. Like, let's take them places. Let's show them there's a bigger space than in Cali, you know. That's huge for me. And then another thing I'd say, like, is big is sports. Like with my boys, you know, that was one big thing, is like they have to be in sports. I played basketball, I played softball, and I feel like that also like just brought me to be that confident person and being able to communicate in the way that I do. That really taught me, because you have to work with a team. And so that's huge. And then sales, same thing. Like, it's big. Like, you can compare team sports to sales. You can compare relationships to sales. So there's a lot in that. So for me, that's why I enjoy what I do, because it relates in so many different ways. But yeah, going back to your question regarding the balance, I feel like that's very important for a person to have that balance. Like I am very big on not being in an extreme anything, like, you know, in a low extreme versus a high extreme of something is too much of all of it. So staying in balance is very important. I'm a huge overthinker, so I would say when I started yoga, that really assisted me and to be able to like let the stress go and like stop worrying about things that you cannot control. Because that's one thing for me is like, and I understood that a lot younger, like in different relationships, that you can't control what people do. But also like for my own self, like to let go of certain things, and yoga provided that for me. And then the workout aspect for me is like, it's always nice because, you know, I like to be able to feel good and be strong. And another big thing for me is health for my boys. You know, my parents, you know, we had Lucky Charms and whatever the fun cereals were when we were little. My house, it's literally water and almond milk. Like we don't drink juice. We don't drink soda. There's like no candy. Like it's very like, again, I'm very like aware of the environment and like exactly, you know, what you put into your body. It's so important. So that's another big thing for me is like looking at the health side of things. And again, that stems back again from my childhood, losing my little brother. My little brother had a rare disease, and you know, he passed away when he was 20. And it was what sparked me through that was that through his struggle, you know, he was in a surgery to remove tumors that were non-cancerous from his spine in high school, and his heart failed. And the reason why his heart failed in a surgery to remove those tumors is because of the pain medication that the doctors continued to give to him throughout his life to just ease the pain, but it wasn't curing what was his problem. And so that woke me up huge, like big time. It got me into my sales career because, and that was like 2006, because I was, you know, in an office doing work for a payroll company. And when he passed away, I was like, I can't be in an office. I can't sit here and be able to think about what I lost. I have to get out. And so that's what like sparked my whole career, honestly, was losing my brother. And then it also sparked my huge interest and huge like passion to be able to really take care of your body and what you're putting in your body. And so I really like paid attention to that. I was just telling my boyfriend the other day, like I gave up drinking soda probably when I was like 20 years old. So I haven't had like a Coke or a Dr. Pepper or things like that in like years. So it's like and then now it's like I feel like if I was to drink a Coke, I'd be like totally addicted, like for sure. But it's so bad for you. Like these things are so bad. So again, like I'm very big on really, you know, doctors can say one thing and prescribe you pain medication, but that's not going to help you. And I don't believe in pain medication. As much as I can try, I'm not going to take what the doctors are telling me. I will do something totally different in order to create and make sure that my boys and I are healthy. And so they know that now. They don't even ask for certain things that are bad for us. You know, we don't really eat a lot of fast food. Like that's also another big thing that I like totally took out of our diet. So things like that, you know, I really am big about, you know, just health and wellness and making sure that my boys have the best if I can help it, you know, so.
Yeah, whatever's within your control.
Yeah.
I like it. Thank you for sharing that.
For sure.
I'm sorry to hear about the loss of both your brother and your dad.
Thank you.
But it also makes me curious in some sense, because I think the more folks I talk to that are successful in some way, there's almost always this piece that was like considered a really low point or a loss.
Oh yeah.
And now I'm hearing like two big factors in your life of loss that like really impacted you.
For sure.
So what did it look like to grieve and heal while also working and growing in your career at the same time?
For my little brother, when losing him, it was definitely a different time of my life. But I will say I do understand that, you know, God, you know, has a plan for us all. And at that time, you know, of losing him, there were certain factors in my life that, you know, probably I wasn't expecting. Like I actually, like I said, that's why I feel like God's also a big part of my life, because I know there's a plan out there. And when I lost my brother, it was definitely hard for our whole family. But again, you know, that's actually when maybe a few months or, well, like a few months later, I actually got pregnant with Ryder, my first son. So, and I didn't find that out until my dad's birthday, which my dad was retired and taking care of my little brother at the time. So I know that like he was a purpose for us. And Ryder's a huge blessing in my life. I believe that he taught me like to be selfless and to really not just think about myself. I, you know, had a really good job and I was doing everything for myself, and I was traveling and having the best time. And, you know, really, I was 27, but, you know, through my 20s, I had an amazing time, like having fun and traveling. But really, obviously, once I got pregnant with Ryder, it like changed me. Like I learned like, okay, this is my next side, like this is a new part of me now. So becoming a mom was a crazy, amazing thing, and I never thought that I would even have a kid. I thought I was going to be like the coolest aunt for sure. And my cousins they totally thought I was like the biggest selfish girl. But again, like it taught me to be selfless, and really that it wasn't always about me. So that was a big lesson. And then obviously to be able to work through certain challenges and dealing with certain things in Ryder and our life, and showing him again that, you know, hard work is going to take us different places. Having my parents be able to assist me, like watch him while I was working, that was a huge blessing for me. Like I've never had to pay for daycare like that, so I was actually really blessed that they were more than happy to take care of my son. And then, you know, when I lost my dad, like I mentioned, that was a whole other lesson that really taught me, you know, again, life is short and it's precious, and time is everything we have. Like I said, now, like with my boyfriend now, I feel like there's times when I look at him and I'm just so grateful to have him by my side. I honestly don't really know like where I would be without him, and without him being able to support me through that loss. Because it was only like 2 years ago, and it's like, I'm not trying to cry, but I am very blessed. And I, you know, again, that was a very hard thing for us to deal with. My older brother and I, luckily, you know, again, I have my older brother. It wasn't just me and my little one. My older brother and I were really able to support each other through my father's loss. And, you know, I thank God for my family, and I really feel like with my boys, I'm also blessed because they got to know my dad. They remember him in different, you know, parts of their life, you know. Again, them playing baseball, I mean, that was big for my dad to watch every game. And like when, you know, that year after and baseball started, that's really when it hit my boys that he wasn't there because he wasn't going to their games or buying them donuts, like little things like that they missed. And like it would just be a random thing where all of a sudden they're crying, and I'm like, are you crying? Like what's wrong?
What's happening?
Like, I miss my tata. And I'm like, oh my God, like they have their own way of grieving, and like that was crazy. And you know I again, like just going through those huge losses in your life and people that are really important in your life, like you really learn that, you know, again, to be able to do something with your own life and to make sure that you are happy and fulfilled. I think that's like one of the most important things that you can do for yourself. Right. You know? Oh,
that's powerful. It really is.
Yeah.
And I think COVID in particular brought a lot of loss for folks.
Oh, yeah.
And then it's like whatever losses you were already experiencing felt exacerbated in terms of like emotions, because you couldn't connect with people socially in the same way, like when you needed that support and love. So
yeah, totally.
I losing people sucks. But
I know.
I like how you turned it around, not just for you, but because you always have that why of your kiddos and making sure that they're seeing you in that positive light too, and all creating those memories.
All the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the one thing that, you know, it sticks with me as well is like also just the fact that, you know, to really, again, not make yourself a victim in certain situations. And, you know, again, there's always time to grieve and be sad, but don't let that become you. Like, you have to still be able to, you know, climb up out of it and just try to get better. You know, at the end of the day, like, I'm always just like striving for the best and to be like, and not like perfection, but I mean, I'm saying like just to be able to be happy is such a big thing in my life. And look at the positive things of life. Like, you can always look at the downfalls or the negative things in life, and it can bring you down. And it's like, at the end of the day, like, I refuse to let that happen to me. Yeah. So I definitely, you know, I don't want to be able, or just, I don't want to feel sorry for myself. I don't want to live in that space of complete sadness and let that take over. I think it's important to just like continue to be and move on. So yeah, I think it's important.
Agreed. Very much agreed. Okay, I got 2 more questions for you, girl.
Sure.
So for somebody who's out there listening to this right now, watching this, that's like, let's get real specific. Let's say somebody in their late 20s, early 30s, and they're hearing this like, I want to get to that point that she is in sales. Maybe I'm like on a similar journey where I just had a kid or I'm about to have kids. And I'm trying to figure out family, career, and whatever else might be going in personal life that we might not know about. Like, what advice would you give for someone to move forward?
I would say not to worry, that everything is always going to work out regardless. Like, you're going to figure it out. And, you know, don't be afraid to ask, you know, if you need help, because I think that it's important for you to not feel so much of the weight like burden on you. You know, try to, you know, get help and or also just like reach out to people that are in your space, or, you know, young moms that, you know, are also in business. And, you know, I think honestly everything always works out. You got to just kind of take that chance. Don't be afraid. You know, at the end of the day, like, everything's going to happen as it should. And whether it's good or bad, because again, bad things push you into something good that you may not even have known.
Right.
And learn how to like walk away from things that aren't right. So, and if it means that, you know, you're ready to have a child and it's not like with even having a partner next to you, know that you're going to make it work. I mean, at the end of the day, I feel like the biggest, you know, advantage that we have here in the Silicon Valley is that there's so much for everybody here. And it's a big space for entrepreneurship, learning about different people and how they made it, and how, you know, you can probably take from them. I mean, again, every experience that I go through or that the people close to me go through, I try to learn something from that, because that's what's going to help you move forward and help you believe that you can do something different, or that it's going to work for you too. Like, not everything is great, you know, obviously, but again, like, you know, there's going to be those days where you feel a certain type of way, but again, that's only just one day. You know, go to the next day and just, you know, take a deep breath and keep it moving. Like, you can't, like, I really feel like it's important for people not to let, you know, their biggest fears or their negativity draw you down. You know, I think it's important to really look at the positive things of life, and like I said, you know, if you can have your support system around you, even just a couple friends, that's going to help you be better. As long as you have the right people around you too. You know, that's important for me, is really like having healthy people in my life, and people that want to see you do well. Like, you don't want the naysayers and, you know, the competitors like trying to come get you all the time, or you have to compete with your friends. Like, you don't want any of that. Like, I truly feel like the people that are in my life right now, we build each other up. You know, we support each other and try to make each other better. Even if it's something that you may not want to hear, you'll realize that later it was because they cared. And hopefully you have those people in your life, because I think that's really important to have, is really people that are going to be real with you and not just, you know, hanging out just to be, you know, a friend or whatever.
True. I need the direct, honest, call me out when I need it,
real.
And then support me and give me a hug after.
Like, thank you. Exactly. Just be real.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so then my last question has to do with everything that Maliya is today, in a sense, and what you'll be known for in the future. Because obviously, your work is impacting a lot of folks, but also even just the things you're saying here. This has influence, impact, reach, everything you're being transparent with us about and sharing. Like, it's really meaningful to me to hear it. And I know it's going to be meaningful for somebody else to hear it as well. So my last question to you would be, considering that legacy and impact, what do you want to be known for?
What would I be able to be known for? No, just kidding. You know, honestly, just especially, and mainly this goes back to my boys, is just realizing that, you know, what you do in your life is going to affect you in a bad way, good way. And to be able to work hard and really believe in yourself, never give up. You know, honestly, there's certain times where I was, you know, just needing a push to be somewhere where I may not have wanted to go, and now it's taking me to different places. So it's like, don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone. You know, for me, it's also, like I said, like what I would be known for, what I would be left with knowing for is helping people and really like being able to come into a room and, you know, being able to enjoy that time that you have with those people, and being appreciative of the time that you have with people is so big for me. And, you know, putting yourself in different spaces that it's going to help you grow. You know, that's going to be like my thing, is just be about your growth, be about being better for yourself, believe in yourself, and take time to love yourself for sure. That's like my biggest thing too, is loving yourself, because I truly feel like you can't really do much for others if you're not loving yourself and taking care of you. So, and life is very short. So it's like, you want to make sure you make an impact. You know, I'll also say too, what, you know, one thing that really impressed my brother and I when my dad passed away is, you know, he had been retired for a very long time, and he was giving back to his community to the point where, you know, these different nonprofits in San Jose, they truly loved what my dad was doing for them, where we didn't really even know, like, that he was making such an impact for, you know, low-income housing people, families that, you know, he was giving his time at Sacred Heart and giving food out. And again, going back to my boys, they aren't allowed to have candy. So he was giving them the lollipops that my boys couldn't have. And it was great to hear that, like, you know, these kids were like, you know, they'd run to him, like wanting the lollipops, expecting that they were getting lollipops from my dad. So I love that he left that legacy of being able to help people and giving back to the community. I mean, you know, nonprofits would pay for him to go to Sacramento to speak on their behalf, things like that. And they, you know, one of the nonprofits he worked with, they actually created a grant in his name that they give out every year that's basically to help a low-income family get housing for that year. So they issue a check to those people. And so giving, you know, that last legacy for him, like to my brother and I, was huge, because we didn't realize the impact he was making. And again, I'm very grateful for the time that my boys had with him. And I realized like what an amazing person he was, and that I'm so glad that they are going to know who that was and who he was as a person. And I feel like, you know, for yourself, again, like my thing is just being able to give back in certain ways that I can, in my experience, in my knowledge, in that way is what I'm going to try to be able to leave people with. So, yeah.
He led a great example, and I definitely see you making that impact in your own way as well. So that's beautiful.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, truly. Like, there's so many nuggets in here that I'm like, I'm gonna go write down my notes later, and then I'm gonna go listen again, because even with examples, there's so many things from stories that we can pull from and take from. And that was so much of your point, is like, everything you do, every person you talk to, learn.
Yeah, you have to.
Learn, listen, and keep that cycle going.
I truly believe it. Yeah. No, seriously. Like, I learned so much from my life.
Yay.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much. Where can folks find you if they want to connect with you later? You can find me on Instagram. Just kidding. No, well, yeah, seriously. My Instagram is OneMeMaliyac, or you can look for it through Lolo's. Yes, we'll put it in the show notes. But yeah, you can find me on Instagram, Facebook. My business line, 408-705-6465. You could always reach out. Again,
I'm there to be a resource for small businesses and new business. And really, in any experience that I may have spoke about, like, you're always welcome to, talk to me about it. And, I'm there to support women and people that, have gone through things like I have, and, that maybe can pull something from me that might be able to help them. That's really what I'm here for. So,
and she really means that, y'all. She really means it. So hit her up. Maliya, thank you for being on the podcast.
Yes, thank you.
Let us know if anything resonates with you, and listen up for the next episode. But for now, that's it.
Yep.
Cheers to a great episode.
That's right. Cheers.
Thanks, girl.
Yes.
Thank you for tuning in to the Here to Uplift podcast. New episodes are airing every week with some bonus episodes in between too. So make sure you stay tuned by subscribing, following, liking, and engaging with us to let us know what topics you're most interested in and what might inspire you along this journey. We're going to keep working hard on our end because we are here to uplift not only ourselves, but our community too, and that includes you. So I can't wait for you to hear the next episode. But for now, do your thing, let's get it, and let's keep moving forward. Uplift yourself, friends. You got this.